15 Hollywood couples with crazy age gaps. Then and now, 2026. Hollywood says love has no limits, but these couples made the whole world stop and stare. Some gaps were 10 years, some were a shocking 40 years. These romances caused jokes, backlash, and endless headlines. Welcome to Classic Hollywood Legends. Hit subscribe now because these love stories are way more wild than they look. David Foster and Katharine McPhee first worked together in 2006. She was a young American Idol finalist. He was already a famous producer with decades of history in music. He mentored her on the show. Back then, it looked purely professional. Years passed. Katharine grew into her own career as a singer and actress. David lived through more marriages and more life. When they finally became a couple, people could not ignore the gap. It was 34 or 35 years. Jokes flew fast. Critics jumped in. Some called it strange. Others said two adults get to choose their own path. Hollywood loves to judge romance while pretending to just worry. Can people judge fairly when the gap is all they see? David and Katharine married in London in 2019. In 2021, they welcomed their son, Rennie. They now perform together too, mixing music and family life. Their story keeps raising eyebrows, but it has lasted longer than most expected. Loved or judged, they built a life on music, family, and ignoring the noise. Steven Tyler and Amy Preston grabbed attention fast. He was Aerosmith's legendary frontman, already in his 60s. She was his personal assistant, much younger, from a whole different world. That alone got the internet talking. Amy started working for him in 2012. Their romance went public in 2016 at Elton John's Oscar viewing party. The age gap? About 39 years. That became the biggest headline. Some called it unusual, some called it uncomfortable. And the public, as always, had endless opinions about a life it wasn't living. Can we judge a couple fairly when the gap becomes the whole story? David and Tyler rarely explain themselves. Maybe that's why people keep guessing. They've shown up together at events, shared sweet moments online, and stayed strong through years of criticism. Breakup rumors popped up too, but reports pushed back. Their story isn't simple. The gap is huge, and people are allowed mixed feelings about it. But these two adults have kept showing up as a couple year after year. In a world that turns every unusual romance into a public trial, Steven Tyler and Amy Preston remain impossible to stop talking about. Megan Fox met Brian Austin Green in 2004 on the sitcom Hope and Faith. She was just 18, stepping into fame. He was 30, already known from Beverly Hills 90210. The gap was 12 or 13 years. Since Megan was so young, people noticed right away. At first, they seemed mismatched. She was becoming one of the most talked about young stars of the 2000s. He had already survived the teen idol grind. But their relationship kept going. They got engaged in 2006, broke it off, then married in Hawaii in 2010. Can love that starts this young actually survive? For a while, it did. They had 3 sons, Noah, Bodhi, and Journey. They went through major ups and downs too. Megan filed for divorce in 2015, then they got back together and had their 3rd child. But by 2020, it was over for good. Their divorce was finalized in 2022. This wasn't just about an age gap. It was two people starting at very different life stages, building a family, trying again, and finally admitting love alone couldn't save the marriage. Dennis Quaid and Laura Savoy made headlines fast. The numbers were hard to ignore. He was in his mid-60s when they met in 2019. She was in her 20s, highly educated, building her own career. Their gap, about 39 years. The internet reacted exactly how you'd expect. Jokes, eye rolls, and strangers acting like they had a vote. They met at a business event, not on a movie set. Laura studied accounting, earned advanced degrees, and worked in business and wellness. Dennis, famous for The Parent Trap and The Day After Tomorrow, had been married before and was clearly in a different chapter of life. Can people take a couple seriously when the age gap is all anyone talks about? In June 2020, they married in a small seaside ceremony in Santa Barbara after pandemic delays changed their plans. Quaid says he's deeply happy, and the age gap just isn't something they think about. Their story still makes people uncomfortable. That's exactly why it's on this list. But Dennis Quaid and Laura Savoy keep their marriage steady, private, and built on faith and choosing to ignore the noise. Nikki Reed and Ian Somerhalder became a couple in 2014, and reactions came fast. She played Rosalie in Twilight. He played Damon Salvatore in The Vampire Diaries. On paper, it sounded perfect for fans. In real life, it got messy fast. Ian had dated his co-star Nina Dobrev before, and fans were loud about it. The gap between Nikki and Ian was about 10 years. Not huge, but the timing sparked drama. Fans turned it into a triangle, especially since Nikki and Nina were rumored to be friends. The internet did what it always does, picked sides, invented drama, and demanded answers nobody owed them. Can a real relationship survive when fans are still stuck on the old one? Nikki and Ian moved fast, engaged in January 2015, married that April in California. Instead of feeding the noise, they built a quiet life. They welcomed daughter Bodhi Soleil in 2017, then a son in 2023. What stands out isn't just the age gap, it's how they outlasted the online drama. Years later, they're still together, raising a family and living quietly away from the spotlight. In 2019, Zach Braff directed Florence Pugh in a short film. At first, it looked like simple teamwork. He was known for Scrubs and his directing work. She was fast becoming one of Hollywood's sharpest young talent. Then fans found out they were dating, and everything changed overnight. Zach was in his mid-40s, Florence was in her early 20s. The gap was about 21 years, and that was enough to turn their private life into a public fight. The backlash hit Zach hard. Florence didn't stay silent. In 2020, after a birthday post for him got flooded with hate, she made a video defending herself. She said she was an adult who didn't need strangers picking her partner. Where's the line between concern and people thinking they own a celebrity's life? Their relationship never made as much noise as the backlash around it. They worked together, stayed private, but the age gap followed every headline anyway. By 2022, Florence confirmed they'd quietly split. She said they waited to announce it because they didn't want millions commenting on something personal. That might be the most honest part of their story. Loved or judged, Zach Braff and Florence Pugh lived through the noise, made their own choices, and walked away quietly. Lemonade, an album many heard as a raw response to betrayal and healing. In 2017, Jay-Z admitted he'd been unfaithful, and everything changed. This wasn't just glamour anymore. It was pain, honesty, and rebuilding. What makes them different is they never pretended it was perfect. They turned pain into music, kept their family together, and kept working as partners. Their age gap started conversations, but their real story grew bigger. Love, even at the top, still takes work. A bad superhero movie gave Hollywood one of its best couples. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds met filming Green Lantern in 2010. Both were with other people then, so nothing started right away. They became friends first, then started dating in 2011 once both were single. Their gap is about 11 years, not shocking compared to others on this list. What grabbed attention was the timing and chemistry, since both already had strong public images. Blake was fresh off Gossip Girl, a style icon for a younger crowd. Ryan was known for his sharp comedy and charm. Can an age gap matter less when two people just match each other's energy? They married in 2012 in South Carolina, later apologizing for the venue after backlash. Since then, they've built a family with 4 kids, James, Inez, Betty, and Olin. They're famous for teasing each other online, not polished romance, but playful jokes and birthday trolling that make them feel like best friends. Their marriage hasn't skipped criticism or rough patches. No long marriage in public ever does. But Blake and Ryan keep the focus on family, humor, and teamwork. In a town where romances burn fast, theirs stands out for feeling real.